What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Comment Writers. We are a Kamen Rider review podcast. Today on the show, we're going to talk about Kamen Rider gavv episode 13. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Toby Tobes. How's it going, Toby?
Josh, it's that time of the year where we didn't plan for this last year, but this year, on our entrepreneurial side, you know, Elf on the Shelf is a thing that starts around now, a little bit before this episode comes out. If there was going to be a toku Elf on the Shelf, what rhymes that we could get like some sort of marketing gimmick going here?
Gavv on the slab.
Doesn't really rhyme though.
Yeah, they kind of pronounce it gabu, so it could be like gabu on the slabu.
That just sounds filthy.
Let's
you
see.
do like Zord on the Ford, but that's a specific car model or manufacturer, and that doesn't really.
It's true. That doesn't. How about Geets where you eats?
Rangers in the manger. There we go.
these are both very good. Yeah.
Who do you think would get mad faster? Toku fans if we put Rangers in a religious manger, or religious people if we put Power Rangers holding baby Jesus or baby Geets? I guess it would have to be baby Geets, or would Geets be the one that makes baby whoever? I just asked a lot of questions at once.
Geets is Jesus. So let's work backwards here. Geets would be in the manger because he's Jesus, right? Yeah.
Or is he God?
Well,
I feel like he's the fox god now that he died. But I guess he would be Jesus.
Kind of all the same, right? Like it's 3 in 1. That's how religion works. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost are all the same body.
Kingdom Hearts is also 3 in 1, just for the record.
Yes, because Kingdom Hearts is based on Christianity.
Yeah, it might be. Who knows? Yeah, so
Kingdom Hearts is really just a retelling of Christianity when you boil it down.
It could be. I bet you if I really put some time and effort into that research, I bet you I could work some leverage there.
Yeah.
But I think we should start working on Geets in the manger.
Geets in the manger or Ranger in the manger?
Well, Ranger in the manger would be like the theme. But like it obviously have to be like different Rangers, like when they do Forever Red, and it's all different characters from different seasons and eras brought together. Like we could do different, I guess it'd be like Sentai people, but like Geets would have to be like the Jesus figure in the little bundle in the middle.
So to answer your question, then I think that tokusatsu fans would get mad at you first because you're calling a Kamen Rider a Ranger.
Well, I mean, oh yeah, that's a good point.
so I think religious people would just be confused, and toku fans would be like, "How dare you!"
I think I could piss off both groups equally.
I think
even this conversation just now of me fucking that up completely, I think could also piss off both groups. So I really think my mission was accomplished.
I think so.
This is the best way to get headlines. I think we just piss off everybody. Like when you go to like when you call Star Wars things like Star Trek and vice versa. I bet you could like just find like the Venn diagram overlap of just the right way to phrase it, where everyone gets mad. We can just have like all the news swarm on us.
There is so when you play trading card games, sometimes you use like a mat on the table, so it's easier to like pick cards up. So people will do like all kinds of crazy designs on their play mats, and some of them are going to be like based on the card game and stuff like that. There's a playmat I saw one time that basically merged a whole bunch of different properties together, and it was intended to be like infuriating. So it was like Ash Ketchum from Pokemon, but it had like the Yu-Gi-Oh title, and he was in a location from Dragon Ball Z, and just on and on. It was like every little possible mistake you could make and pull from a different property. They lumped them all together, and that's really what we're trying to do here with Ranger in a Manger. We're trying to pull everything in and make everyone mad all at one time.
I think it sounds like a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Like I'm really all in on this. Now you help me brainstorm the greatest of ideas here.
I found the actual playmat. It is Ash Ketchum wearing a dual disc from Yu-Gi-Oh! The logo says Magic the Gathering. He's standing next to a Digimon, and he's in a Dragon Ball Z location. That's what it is.
So. It makes me happy that like people get so irritated by this dumb shit, where instead of just like for every one person that laughs it off and is like, ha ha ha, that's freaking stupid but funny, there's probably like 10 more that get so mad. So along those lines, like I'm glad that we have these things still. It just Get the fire burning inside.
Yeah, there are things out there that the nerds still come out of the woodwork for. This is this is one of them probably.
Feels good.
I think are the people are there people out there that are still like hardcore Star Trek people? I assume that they exist still. They're just older.
I don't see, I don't know if they're older because, I mean, like, I don't think Voyager is the wrong one, but, like, Discovery was a thing in the past couple years, I feel like, or Discoverer, and I feel like Picard's spinoff was a thing for
That's true.
a small gap there.
They have been working on bringing it back with those types of series.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know if there's n I don't know if there'd be, like, new fans. I feel like it falls, like, that weird category of, like, my uncle used to be diehard Star Trek, and I think he might have watched it, but I feel like he would be the age group. Like, he's, like, 70.
Yeah.
And I feel like you wouldn't be like, "Oh, cool, like, they're continuing the story. This isn't Next Generation, this is shit." But I don't feel like there's new 18-year-olds that would be like, "Wow, Star Trek's out." But I don't know. I'm in the sweet spot of missing both sides of this, and I don't know how to properly judge what the clientele would be for that show. What
Yeah,
the demo is, as the
we
people would say.
we've talked about it, on here I think recently, but like I am like weirdly getting back into Star Wars after spending many years hating it. Um and most of it is still really bad, but like, I also do really like Star Trek as well. So for there was a lot of time where I would kind of like sort of just to be contrarian would say that I liked Star Trek more than Star Wars. And it was mostly just to be different. But it looks like now that I'm pulling it up, since like 20, we'll say 18 or so, they've been trying to do a bunch more Star Trek stuff. So they did Discovery, and then they did Strange New Worlds, and then Lower Decks, Prodigy, Picard, and then Discovery some more. So yeah, there's like concurrent Star Trek things that are running now, which is shocking. I didn't realize that we were in a big resurgence.
I think it never died because I even feel like growing up. So I guess growing up, we'll call like in the past 20 years before the resurgence, I feel like they would like secretly drop a Star Trek movie every once in a while. Like every couple years, it'd be like Star Trek, A New Dawn, or some name, and just
Yeah,
be like a random one off of, hey, some of the older actors that are still alive, we brought them back, and then like Zachary Quinto played Spock in some run in the past decade or so, and everyone loved him as Spock. And
yeah, we had that trilogy. So that looking at those, Star Trek came out in 2009, and then Into Darkness was like 2013ish it looks like, and then Star Trek Beyond was maybe 2017 or so. So that trilogy of films were kind of the only Star Trek things happening from 2006 on to 2015, 2017. So there was a brief time where it was only in the movies, but yeah, like you said, even then the movies were happening. So there was kind of always Star Trek going on. I think I saw the 2009 Star Trek film, but I'm not sure I saw the other two.
I
Now
know
that
there's
I'm
a point where I used to see a bunch of them with my uncle when it was like, I feel like it was the first resurgence of the new the first resurgence of having the old characters like Picard and all of them in the movies, but
played by all the new people.
they were still young enough
Yeah.
where it was still them.
Yeah.
So I think like '05, '06, '07, something in there, Genesis, Star Trek Nemesis, something along those lines.
I feel like Toby, it used to be when you came of age as a nerd, you had to choose your lane. You either chose that you were Star Wars or Star Trek or like Doctor Who if you're
I
like really weird.
I feel like Doctor Who is always the outlier. Like I
Yeah.
feel like both star things were like the main two, and they would always fight with each other.
Yeah.
And then when a Doctor Whovian came out or came in the conversation, or whatever, everyone was like, "You're the actual weirdo. Get out of here. Who's the seventh Doctor? That's stupid." And then whenever the new Doctors came out, that was always a big ragey thing. Like I always enjoyed the rage of the fandom without being in the fandom because people used to lose their goddamn minds whenever a new Doctor was a thing.
Yeah, because they all seem to to crap on an entire fandom that I don't know much
Let's do
about.
it.
Uh,
Let's
they
talk
they
about let's
all
talk about that.
seem
Wait, much like my favorite Power Ranger, Kamen
uh-huh.
Rider Geats.
Yep.
Let's talk about some Doctor Who's.
It feels like there is a, I won't say majority, but there's a loud uh a portion of the Doctor Who fan base that are maybe like just kind of racist and kind of sexist because like when they announced, oh, they did like a woman doctor and I think they did a black doctor and I remember like anger coming from the fandom for both of those things. And it's like, you know that this is all about like space aliens, right? Like they can look like anything. It's just a weird, it's, and Star Wars fans have this too, where they get real weird about things like that and like gender and race. And again, it's just like you're watching a movie about like space alien terrorists. Like what? Why is this your hang up? It's just
I
it's so
think it's fun.
strange.
I think it's funny that Star Trek, the whole general vibe point, whatever of Star Trek was supposed to be like, we're gonna find peace in outer space and we're gonna blend all the peoples together, and it's not
Yeah.
gonna be a big deal anymore. And those people got mad about not blending people. And this is my
well,
dissertation on why Star Trek people are the worst.
Star Trek was one of the first shows like that showed what an interracial kiss on
Yeah,
screen, like
because when pimp ass Captain
Kirk.
Shatner, yeah, Kirk Shatner, whatever his name was, because he kissed the doctor lady
Yeah, he did.
right on the lips.
Did you know that William Shatner, for a time, was producing spoken word songs? I guess we'll say not poetry because they were set to music, but he had like spoken word poetry slash music that he's putting out. That was absolutely insane.
I feel like I downloaded one of those, or I have one of those, or in the wordy musical thing, because there was a time when a good chunk of my MP3 downloading was not so much like, not audiobooks per se, but like Henry Rollins. I used to be super into like
uh
his,
I like him.
not like not not always his written stuff, but he's an amazing storyteller, and he has a
Yes.
whole like tens of 20s of albums of like spoken word, spoken tour, whatever you want to call it, things. I used to love those. And I feel like he made a joke about Shatner at one point. So I downloaded one of Shatner's spoken word things. And I was like, yeah, this is fucking dumb. This is hilarious. And then it was
Yeah.
just, that was the end of it.
I had a friend from college, and this is after college, but we would get together sometimes. So it'd be me and him, and then like one or two of his friends, and we would basically like have a sleepover. We'd stay up all night long, and we would record music in the style of Shatner's spoken word music. So we would just basically like create these sort of nightmare hellscapes of sound, and then like someone would write some insane poetry and would like recite it over top of this music. And we would basically spend all night. We'd like record like an album worth of it, basically, like whatever we could get through, and then just like share it with each other and then do that again in like 6 months. We did
Do
this like
you,
3 or 4 times, and I don't have any of it
all
anymore.
right.
But I wish I kept it, but I don't have it anymore. But it was a weird thing to do. And I was like, it was fun to go along with, but like I definitely wasn't the one spearheading
Yeah, yeah,
the
this is, yeah,
creative
now
process.
Josh is playing it cool now.
No,
Josh is probably the one back then being like, guys, I wrote cool stuff down. Let's make some avant garde noise rock sludge.
I'm very happy to explain all of my embarrassing moments in my life in podcast form. But this is one that, yeah, I was happy to go along with it, making avant garde spoken word music, but I was not the one doing like the writing and doing most of the like, pushing for it. But it's a weird thing that I've done in my life now.
We'll use this as the transfer out of the intro into whatever we're doing next here. Is that it? I don't need some sort of like weird, um, incriminating statement out of you for this. Is that the weirdest thing you ever did at a sleepover? But I'm like, when I say weird, I just want like your best, like, funny, goofy teenage boy nonsense story.
Yeah. I think it probably so because other than that, like the most I've ever done of like going and staying with friends is I would go stay with my cousin when we were like fairly young, like uh tween boys, and we would just stay up all night and play Perfect Dark. Like that was all we did was we would stay up all night and play N64 games. And then we'd be down at breakfast with his dad, like bleary eyed, like clearly like we didn't go to sleep. And his dad would be like, so did you guys get some sleep last night? You're like, yeah, we got lots. Yep. Yeah, we're good.
So
um, yeah, we weren't, I wasn't super exciting other than that, probably.
So to work backwards from your story to amp up the weirdness, and but for whatever reason, your weird sleepover party story made me think of this question to be able to tell my story. So my top three weird things we used to do at sleepovers with the same group of friends, starting at the least weird number three. To your perfect dark story, we
Uh-huh.
used to play GoldenEye all night, which
Okay.
was the multiplayer N64 game of choice before Perfect Dark. But we were so hardcore about it that in the old days, all you could ever get for multiplayer was split screen.
Yep.
And if you played GoldenEye or Perfect Dark or any of those kind of games, everyone would accuse you of screen peeking if you would do such a thing as like look at where your opponent's standing with a sniper rifle because you can work around it then. So to negate this, we bought a sliding screen door. We wrapped the screen door with tape and we would put the wrapped up screen door in the middle of the TV so that would actually split the screen in half so that both of us on each team can sit on our side of the screen door and not be able to see their side of the thing at all.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen like lots of contraptions people have rigged up for that, which is like not a thing that kids have to do anymore. But it's yeah, it's great. Every time you see one of those, it's always amazing.
So that just reminded me of that. Going number two, going backwards. So that this age of my young teenage buffoonery, we were all super into wrestling and specifically ECW wrestling, which was like the hardcore underground thing in my locality around here before it got expanded outward.
Mhm.
So me and my one friend were so into it with a third friend that for whatever reason we got to the point where we would have hardcore matches with stuffed animals that my friend still had, and like we would like beat the shit out of like a giant teddy bear, and like we took he had like lawn chairs that had like little plastic slats you could take out. So we would like take the slats out and like pretend they were kendo sticks and like smack the shit out of the bear and like we would do of course, all the best wrestling moves, like fake Sabu moves, jump off a chair onto pillows and
Yep.
like beat him up and stuff. And the other people that weren't wrestling the bear would do commentary. And then when we would tag each other in when the bear kicked our ass, then we would switch roles on commentary.
We so it wasn't like during sleepovers, but we also did some crazy wrestling things. And the most insane thing we got to, we would like beat each other with things. So like
I, see,
one point,
this is exactly what I want for the teenage boy story because this
yeah.
is about to be my number one as you get to this thing.
So yeah, so my wrestling one, we got like it was like a refrigerator or something got delivered at some point, and in the cardboard packaging for it included these like corner cardboard pieces that were the thickest, hardest cardboard I've ever felt. You
Oh yeah,
couldn't
it feels
bend
like
them.
wood. Like
Yeah,
because they still pack things in that now. It literally feels like bent wood instead of like heavy
yeah.
cardboard.
So we basically took those outside and beat each other with them. And at one point, like we were started out kind of aiming for like arms and stuff and places where it wouldn't like hurt super bad. And at one point, my friend forgot that, I guess, and smacked me literally right across the face with it. So I had a giant welt across my face for like a day or two that like went from like the corner of one side to like the bottom by my chin, like all the way across my face. And the other thing we did that was really crazy in our kind of wrestling stuff, and I don't know why I thought this was going to. I'm not sure why I thought anything other than this was going to happen. But one time we set up folding chairs, and I jumped from high up onto the folding chair, like knee first, and like bent it in half and destroyed the folding chair. And I don't know how I didn't like destroy my own body doing that, but like I
Because
came out,
you were young and bendy still.
yeah, I came out unscathed. But like again, thinking back, like I don't know why I thought I wouldn't destroy that chair. For some reason in my head it was like, oh, this is gonna go easy, it's gonna be fine, and it's not gonna break. But no, I just broke a folding chair with my body.
Like a
So that was
like a real pro, hard way.
yeah, hard way to for sure.
So my number one, and it's still tied to the wrestling thing. So there was usually four of us for the sleepover. It was always two brothers and then me and like another friend that was close to them. So for whatever reason, my number one weird sleepover thing was we always slept in the brothers' house in their basement. And it was like a finished basement, but finished in just that like there was carpet over the concrete slab on the bottom. and it was like a pretty big basement, like plenty big, like 10 by 20, whatever, like full room sized, plenty of space. So for whatever reason, at one point, I don't remember the name of the game. But basically, the game was we would all stand up, put our sleeping bags over our bodies fully, turn the lights off so it was pitch black, and then try to wrestle each other in sleeping bags in the pitch dark, and try not to like have someone actually get hurt. So you'd basically like we'd all start in one corner and you kind of stagger around the room and be quiet until you all like smack into each other and you try to like knock each other over and jump on people and stuff. And it was like the weirdest stupid game because like in general, if someone was about to like elbow you in the face, you could probably see it coming. But with the sleeping bag game, like as soon as you're down the ground, you're just like in a coffin and you don't know what's happening. And people like step on you and trip on you and stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
surprised that no one ever got like actually hurt playing the dumb game. But we would all laugh and like act stupid so loud that my friend's dad would always eventually come downstairs, which is like 2 stories down, and like be like, "Shut the fuck up, turn the lights on, go to bed, do something." And yeah, he always get real pissed off that we're playing the dumb game.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen videos of people playing basically that game in the daylight, but with blindfolds on. So it's like wandering around in an enclosed space, trying to hit the other people, but trying to not make noise so that they don't know where you are and stuff. And that yeah seems like the peak of like juvenile boy games to play.
Yeah, I think it's really the summary of what we came up to. If you remotely watched wrestling as a teenage boy, you probably have stories much like these moments.
Yeah, you're gonna beat your friends for sure or something like that. Yeah. Um, speaking of beating your friends, I had a Marvel Snap story that I have to share with you because it was so funny. So very quickly, there is an event going on in Marvel Snap right now that it's kind of a slog to play through it. It's not like the main game; it's like this little side mode, and it's like annoying because when you lose, you have to wait till it all recharges for you to play again, and you have to play it a bunch to unlock a card. And getting cards in Marvel Snap is like kind of hard. So like you really are incentivized to play this mode, but it's kind of annoying to play it basically. And we're getting to the end of this mode being active. So like if you're still playing it, you're playing it to try to get that card. And I was kind of to the point where it's like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that or not. Like I'm kind of like on the line where I'm not going to be able to play enough to actually get the card. So I queued up and I joined someone's game to play. And typically, like both people are working against each other here, obviously, because the person who wins is the one who advances in the ladder to unlock the card, and the other person is the one who has to like go through the timeout basically to rebuild up and let them play again. But this person I joined, so Marvel Snap lets you emote at each other with like a few random phrases. And they emoted right as the game started, "I'm losing." And then they did the like fist bump. So I'm like, wait, are they telling me they're going to throw this game for me? So I fist bumped them back and then I snapped and then they immediately snapped. So it's like, okay, this seems like they're giving this game up for me. So we go through the first few
What what
turns.
what does snap mean?
Snap means that you double down basically. So it means that the outcome of the game you'll get more points from it and you'll go further on the ladder towards the card unlock. Um so it basically means I would get more out of the game if I won. So we go through the first turn. They don't play anything. Second turn, they don't play any cards. So I'm like, oh, it's really happening. So we get through all the way to the very
It's
end.
really happening.
They play a single card in a random off lane that's not going to do anything. They fist bump me again with the emote, and I end up winning like so many points that it like propels me all the way to the end, and I unlock the card right away. So I had a good Samaritan who clearly had like already done the card unlock and was just joining in the ladder to just give someone free points. And it was incredible. So there are good Samaritans in the world, Toby.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm
Yeah.
glad this was your moment of like, there's okay people.
And so yeah, because most of the time people you play with in Marvel Snap are just the worst people. And they they probably aren't as bad as you would think they even are in real life. It's just when you only have emotes to interact with someone, generally I'm gonna read you as a sarcastic jerk, you know, especially the emotes that are in Marvel Snap because it's always like, "Oh, you emoted like Deadpool looking coy. Clearly you must be an asshole." There are no, like, good game emotes. They're all, like, kinda shitty. So I just always assume everyone I'm playing is a nightmare person, but, yeah, this person was very nice. And so before we jump into our common writer talk, it was requested in the Discord in our episode questions chat. Which, if you would like to post an episode question in the Discord for us to answer, you can join our Discord by joining our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/slash the comment writers. $3 a month, you get access to all of our bonus content, and you get in the Discord, and you can put questions here in the episode questions chat. But we had talked about Anchor.fm, which is now part of Spotify, in the um in the Discord, and I mentioned an Anchor braggy story that I have. So it was requested for to talk about that. And I
I
don't
would
even know if
I would
you know.
I wanna preface that on patreon.com/comment writers on our Discord.
Uh-huh.
Josh basically set up he did the Gone Fishing for his story, where he was like, "Oh, man, I have this Anchor story to tell everybody that's so fucking sweet, but I'm not gonna tell anybody, or it's too long to type out. Maybe I'll do it someday." So then, of course, a nice person went hook, line, and sinker and was like, "Oh, I have an episode question. Josh, what's the Anchor story?"
This is how you get them. This is how you get them, Toby. I'm not even going to say that's not what I was doing, because yeah, this is how you hook people. This is how you get episode questions. This is how you build suspense. I'm just over here doing it. But no, so yeah, I think this is an era that you probably don't even know about either. But Anchor right now is basically, it's a podcasting platform, so you can like upload your files to it, and it'll like basically disseminate your podcast out to the various places, put it on Spotify, put it on Apple, and so on. When Anchor first started, it wasn't that at all. It was this like closed platform app where you could record yourself and kind of put out like audio, but it was a little bit closer to like Twitter with audio instead of a podcast. um,
Didn't Jeff used to always use that?
that's Mixler you're thinking of, I
Thank you.
think.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
So
was. That's exactly what it is. Thank you.
and this is like kind of similar, but like you could record and you'd put out these like basically these episodes. But they also had like a bunch of weird community features built in, where you could do call-ins. So you as a user could, air quotes, call in to another person's account, another show, and then they could record an episode, but like play your call in and then like answer it like on the show, which was kind of fun. So I got into Anchor like super early, and that's where I used the Pretty Decent name in lots of places. So that's where that started, was because the show I started on Anchor was Pretty Decent, and the concept was basically like, hey, it'll be like a daily, like pretty short, like pop culture updates, like whatever's going on, like talking about movies or games or whatever. I would do that. And because I was so early on Anchor, and I was one of the first people that were using it for like an actual show and not just like random people talking about random things, like I was actually pretty high on the like charts or whatever. So if you would go look at the Anchor charts, like I made it up to like top 10. Like there's a few screenshots I have where I'm like the first person listed in the entertainment chat and stuff, which is crazy. I'm like on the Anchor website back in the day, like literally like says like Pretty Decent, like right in the first part of the website when you go and look at all the shows and stuff that are there. So like that was cool that I was like really high up kind of in the Anchor stuff, just because I was so early in it. And then as Anchor expanded, they started doing more and more stuff, and then they often would incorporate me into those things. So one of the crazy things, and this is the braggy part, um, was they got added to Google. So when you say like, "Hey Google, like tell me the news," they got added as a source for news. And you could set it up where like what you wanted to hear, but I was one of like the sort of the default ones. So for lots and lots of people, which is a crazy thought, when they would wake up in the morning and talk to their Google Home or whatever and ask for the news, they would hear me every day talking about random stuff, which is so funny. Um, and it was so weird to like get emails from people being like, "Oh my god, I listen to you on my Google Home every day." So anyway, so that's my braggy story. It was like most people don't even know that whole app existed in that form. But for a time, Toby, I was the king of it.
You know what? I'll actually give you credit for that one. That's actually it went from like a ha 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 this is funny story to the exact part you said where like if someone's like, "Hey Google Home, tell me the news," and then your goofy ass voice came popping over.
It's
That's
so freaking crazy. Yeah.
yeah, I'll call that a win. I call it actually a good thing.
Yeah, it was so weird too because like, Anchor started out very small as far as, like, a company goes, and then it grew really fast and then eventually got acquired by Spotify. So it was really weird, like, knowing people in the company or, like, having, like, a direct contact with the company, and then as it grew, right? Because it's like, "Oh, why are they still talking to me?" Like, I kept, like, questioning that as we would go along, be like, I feel like I've, like they've outgrown me here, but they keep answering my emails, so, okay, this is good." Um,
I think
but
that's
yeah.
the actual dream of like that's literally like what like a real YouTube partner is. Where like when shit goes bad, you're just like, "Oh, just ask YouTube."
Yeah.
And basically it was the same thing, like, "Oh, just ask Anchor. They know me."
Yeah, exactly. So, it was really fun. Yeah, if you're ever out there wanting to, like, create content, getting in on the ground floor for a new platform is a good way to do that. Because then you'll be, like, the person that they want to promote and the show that people find and stuff if they're just joining the platform. So, yeah, that was the big benefit for me.
Look at Josh go.
Anyway, Toby, we can jump over into Common Writer chat now. We watched Gav episode 13 for this episode. And this was definitely a move the plot along episode. A lot went down, and I think the biggest was that Shoma tries cake. Toby,
The we will start with the Shoma cake,
it
I
was the part I
guess.
was most excited about was Shoma baking a cake.
Him him baking a cake inspired by Sachika making him a Yule log or
Uh
whatever
huh.
the brick de Noel, or there's lots of different names for it in different cultures. The the pure joy of them enjoying dessert together. This is gonna tie into a different story about the same to them. The joy of them eating the dessert together, to him being so hyped and shoveling in his giant piece of cake,
Uh huh.
to him pooping out all the good cheeses again like the good old days,
Uh huh.
to him not even caring that they're all popping out of his tummy butt, and him getting so stoked about it to the point where he's like, to where Sachika's like, "No, you can actually make a cake too," and him going like, "Holy shit, really? I can do this?" And it was the craziest moment to me where it clicked of like, today is like a huge turning point for him, where instead of just having to find sweets, like he can just make his own good cheeses now. Like he
Yeah.
was today, he was given the power of like, hey, here's a crafting table, knock yourself out. And I think that's just like an amazing like tiny plot point, because like she was baffled of like, no, I get you like this cake, but why are you acting like you never had a cake?
Yeah.
And that was kind of funny. But like the his whole moment of like, holy shit, I can bake was just like the best thing to me, just because of the dumb like make your own good Cheezos thing going forward. But somehow the whole drama of the entire episode. So this I feel like the show goes a lot of different ways with all the characters. Where like we joke about like Shoma and Hanto, like it seems like they have romance, whatever. Like there's a real weird like will they won't they moment between the two of them,
Uh
as
huh.
like a kind of a dumb joke but kind of serious. And then like today, he was so ride or die for like, Sachika baked me a cake, I'm gonna fucking make her a cake back, to the point where when he gets his ass kicked and basically dies, all he can think of is, I need to eat cake with fucking Sachika. And like his whole like I'm not gonna die today moment was, but she won't have cake with me. And it was
Yep.
just wild because I don't think any of them, like, as jokes aside towards the beginning, I feel like none of them are going to have any sort of actual like romantic interludes this season, because I feel like most seasons don't.
Yeah.
I feel like they're just such good friends as a trio that like they love each other the way like I would be say like love you Josh, like it's just like that kind of like love, like that
Yeah.
kind of like pure bond. And it's just so cool that like last week was him and Hanto like, hey, like I dressed your wounds, you tackled me half naked, like it's cool, like we're bros like that. And this time was just like, no, my friend taught me how to bake, and she said if you care about people you can bake stuff for them, and God fucking damn it, I'm baking her a freaking cake.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was gonna point out this episode that like, yeah, we got the like, pseudo romantic Hanto and Shoma stuff last time, and this time they kind of leaned into the um the alluding to the Sachika and Shoma uh romance. And I think it's true. Yeah, like you said, like we won't I don't think we'll get either of those things because we just don't really in Common Writer. But they're leaning on them, but it definitely, especially with the one today, the one this time, yeah, I agree. It felt very like deep friendship love, which is super cute. And these things I hadn't thought about it in terms of a um a crafting table. That's very funny and very true. But I like that it's very just sort of like slice of life anime vibe of like, oh, he really loves cake and like he has the like funny, well, I've never had cake before, but I've heard about it a lot. And then they go to the grocery store and they buy ingredients and you get to see like cute Japanese grocery store shopping for a little bit, and that's awesome. And then they bring it back and they lay out all the ingredients and so they kind of walk you through it a little bit, and it's like it's kind of adorable. You sort of forget you're in a Common Writer show a little bit, and you just really are loving these two characters who are just having a good time together and having a fun little Christmas cake bake. Um,
Uh, yeah, and like even tie with that, like when like their whole baking segment was basically like him being stupid, not understanding. Obviously, he's overpowered and a little too strong. But she'd be like, "Okay, like pour the flour in," and like instead of just like pouring it in a cup, he'll just dump the bag in, and she wouldn't get mad. They would just like be covered in like flour or like big puffs of flour, and she'd be like, "No, silly, this is why we measure it." Or she said like, "Okay, stir the eggs while the pan's hot," and he just grabs the pan. He's like, "Oh, that's too hot," and she's like, "No, that's why you're not supposed to touch it." But the best one was she was like, "You need to mix this stuff together," and he starts mixing like basically like a human blender. And she's like, "No, no, no, you need to focus. Like, slow down." And he gets like awkwardly slow. And she's like, "I find it helps when I bake to think about the person I'm baking for. And then it like gives me the vibe and the spirit, whatever." So then he just like eyes locked, dead stare, just stares in Sachika's eyes and like mixes the cake batter. And she's like, "Please stop staring at me. This is creepy." And then he looks away and fucks up again. And she's like, "No, no, no. Like, just think about me though." And he does the die hard stare at her thing again. And she's like, "No, but stop staring." And like it was just all like
it
so
was so
fucking funny
funny.
to
Yeah, that scene was so good. It was definitely like the most of the maybe he has the hots for her that they were alluding to, but also just very funny. Just I can make eye contact and do it perfectly, or I can look away and do it horribly.
And it's funny because it reminds me of this is again like teenage, even adult, like juvenile humor. But when I used to play actual golf with my friends, the golf ball washers are very are a very sexual thing
Uh-huh.
where basically like you put your if you, in case you never really like actually used a golf ball washer, it's like this big canister that you put your golf balls in, and you basically like stroke this rod up and down to make the golf balls go up and down and get brushed. So any normal human being with that's not a child would just like throw their golf balls in, like do it once or twice, scrub them off, take them out, and you're good to go. I would put mine in and then just lock eyes with one of my friends and pump the handle as slow as humanly possible and just like stare at him like he was doing the cake, and everyone would freak the fuck out and be like, "This is so creepy. Stop doing this." So when Shoma did the cake thing today, I was rolling because I was like, "This is literally what I would do to my friends."
That's awesome. And then of course Sachika has to leave, but then she finds later that he finished the cake, and she's so proud that he actually like completed the cake and it looks good. Because she's leaving clearly like, oh, this guy's gonna have a disaster on his hands since he's been so bad at this. But yeah, he finishes it, he decorates it, and like he's go Chizo help him out, and she's like so friend impressed. It's adorable.
Yeah, like their whole like those two and their thing was like the whole main arc of this week, kind of like the Hanto
Yeah.
and Shoma one was last week. So it's cool they all have their moments together. So at this point, I'm expecting next week to be a Hanto Sachika like full episode together.
Maybe, yeah.
And then at that point, I feel like they can end the like we haven't done it dramatically this year, but like they can have their "We're Two Friends" episode probably taking care of Shoma, and I feel like that will like cement the triangle of we are just friends kind of thing, but like just the best of friends. And with that too, I think that's when Sachika. Well, we'll do the end. I don't know because I have to do the ending, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
Okay, so the ending is blah blah blah. Shoma gets his ass kicked, and we don't know what happens to him, which I think is a dumb cliffhanger. I don't like when those are the cliffhanger things.
He's like falling, right?
Yeah,
That's the cliffhanger.
we think he's gonna die. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that. But like, so Hanto saw this happen, and Sachika sat at home of like, hey, where's Shoma? We were gonna cake together.
Yeah.
So I feel like next week this is set up for those two have to caretake him for a point, and then since they're both common riders and she is not, I feel like this would be the perfect time for when Shoma's all ass kicked and she's like, "How'd you get beat up? What's wrong with you?" Blah blah blah. I feel like they're open enough where this will be the episode or the one after maybe where they're like, "Hey, Sachika, just so you know, like, me are the masked rider. Like, Shoma's the purple one that everyone knows about, but I'm the brown one that does the other stuff." Like, I feel like that's this is the point where I feel like this can culminate very nicely,
Yeah.
and then we can stop worrying about this piece of the quote unquote drama as well.
Yeah, I could see that being the path for sure. Yeah. Cuz they've definitely like shown us that they're going to be open with each other already. So hopefully that continues and yeah, we can just have it all out in the open and everybody knows and everybody's friends and we're just the best of friends forever. Speaking of the ending, so working backwards there. So the fight that seems like it nearly kills Shoma
Well,
is what's that?
we can just do like the twins arc
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
next
bring
then.
up was the twins. Yeah.
We can
So
start at the beginning with them then.
okay, let's do it.
They're people too. Just because they're thrown out in the streets doesn't mean they're not people.
That's what I was gonna talk about. Was last time we saw them was they were getting tossed out in the street and they were very angry and seeking retribution on young Red Gav.
Stupid little red gav.
The little red Gav. So this time around, the rest of the stomach family basically know that they're kind of off doing wild shit and they're okay with it. And we get a flashback which I find very very interesting. So it's a birthday for the twins when they were younger and the food that they show on this table is incredible, by the way. It's like disgusting like worms coming out of your cake and stuff and you got like heads of animals laying there and
It's
weird.
actually like so like we always like the Japanese media food is always like the best looking stuff.
Mhm.
Like the evil birthday cake looked gross, but also like beautifully designed
It
and like
was.
still like picture perfect goth dark creepy cake.
Yeah, it was a goth birthday cake. So the twins get presents and then Shoma's kind of watching from outside this dining room and he watches for a little bit and then he comes in and brings the flowers in and he's like excited. He's like, "Oh my gosh, like happy birthday Sheeta, happy birthday Juba." And they turn around and they stomp his flowers down and basically tell him to go away and scream at him. Um Interesting. Yeah, so like that, the we're continuing to sort of like a slowly expand out the narrative of like how he was involved in the family, right? Because that's still kind of the big question mark. Like they were sort of captured, but he was also kind of a brother, and like clearly there were times in their life where he was more included in the family, and times in their life when he was more treated like um a prisoner, I guess I should say. Yeah, this one clearly like he was free to roam around, but the twins still hated him. So
Yeah, like and like this I feel like this one hurt more because he was obviously just like a little baby Shoma or
yeah,
like super young. And presumably like it seems like he did nothing wrong. And even when we get to the end of this, when they fight Shoma and beat the shit out of him because they're so goddamn pissed off at him. Like they're mid fight just beating the hell out of him. And he's like, I still don't understand why you both hate me so much.
yeah,
So it just seems like there's obviously something that was their perspective on reality that like just make them hate him. But it hasn't been like shown to us yet. And the only thing I can possibly think of is at some point, I guess I'm sure someone takes interest in him as like like the hybrid that he is of human and whatever, and they feel like they lost attention or like I feel like there's not a lot of possibilities for that piece of the story that would like include jealousy that we've seen,
Yeah.
unless it was just he got attention that they used to get, or they thought he like the parents thought he was better or something. But like the best goofy part of the flashback was when they show Galata and Papa Stomach there. They're talking about the twins, and the dad's like, "Yeah, they're out doing their own thing now. I guess whatever noise they make helps keep people distracted from me, so that's fine."
Yeah.
But they make a comment like the dad basically says the twins ran away from home, and and then Glada's like, "No, we should go find them though. Like the kids are out there." But the way he worded it, like they ran away from home, is a wild way to word the fact that like they
They
kicked
were
them out of
kicked
the
out.
family and told them they can't stay in the building anymore.
Yeah, he's
And
clearly manipulating the rest of the family for sure.
yeah, and his story's just like, oh, I guess they left.
Yeah. He wanted he I think he presented them with the, like, "You're gonna get split up," and then clearly, like, sent the agents to kick them out, because he wanted them to leave because he wants them out there causing trouble. So, yeah, I think he full on is trying to kind of gaslight and manipulate the whole family. So, the twins he's doing obviously very directly, and then he's lying to Glotta, and, yeah, I think he's sort of working all the angles, it appears.
So
At least
see, and
that's my take.
yeah, so that there's still that still nicely sets up the possibility of the entire family eventually turning against mainly him at the end of the season.
Yeah.
The early prediction of that arc when the twins started getting like half joking outcasted, and especially like Gladys seems very like actual mom to them of like, hey, where'd the twins go? Blah blah blah.
Mhm.
So there's definitely the vibe for like everyone against dad or the patriarch, I guess, whatever you want to call it, at the end of this here.
Hopefully, yeah, that could be cool. The twins themselves, however, so they lure Shoma kind of away from Hanto and away from the other Granute with an agent. He chases the agent down, and we have a good little fight with the agent. So we've talked before about how tough the agents are, and we really get to see that here for sure. So the agent like puts up a pretty good fight, and there's some cool stuff in this scene. At one point, like Shoma like locks the agent in place by using a bunch of logs kind of in all different directions to like trap him so he can't move his body, which was pretty cool. Um, and yeah, there's just some really neat like at one point I think the agent like shoots him and the bullet goes underwater and then he kicks it back at them. There's just crazy things that go
That
on.
was that was the Valen fight.
Oh, that was Valen. Okay, sorry. Yeah, the
We'll,
choreography
we'll
in
talk about
general
him
here
separate. Yeah.
is crazy. But he fights the agent first, and then like the next thing he faces, of course, are the twins themselves. So we get to see their kind of full henshin, and I think they look very cool. Like they're sort of grown wolf
They're wolfy
forms.
forms. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have like again they have like the matching. They look alike, but different variations, and they have like fur around. Sort of their like extremities and like around their shoulders and stuff, and around their gav. Um, they look neat. I really like the vibe. They look like something out of like Garo or something, which is a different toku show. But like that's a toku show that's like much darker, and these look like that, where it's like they kind of are scary, and there's nothing really goofy about them for the most part. It's just sort of like very um, gothic looking monsters, essentially. So yeah, I'm a big fan, and they're tough. So they lead to basically just destroying Shoma. They like start ripping pieces off of him. Um, he just is getting completely pulverized. He goes through a couple different um gummies to try to fight back. I thought it was cool. He did like the big gummy hand and foot at the same time, which was really neat. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, it ends with him getting his like potato chip swords broken and completely kind of like ripped apart and then thrown off a cliff.
We forgot to So I guess we forgot to mention as part of that. So since he pooped out the cakes or the Yule cakes earlier, we got
Yeah.
to get Yule cake form Shoma this episode.
What'd you think about it?
and it was really cool. I like the fact that he like has an axe for his weapon.
Yeah.
Uh, his like it's not like full blown out cake looking, but he has like they really lean into the log part of the Yule log for his abilities with this thing. So he like his shoulders, his chest, and his head ish, all just look like more like wooden armor or like actual logs sticking out of him. I thought all the attacks with it looked really cool too, and I was thinking about it. I really appreciate this season for this feels actually like all the jokes about Geats and how it was like, oh, battle royale video game. This actually feels way more video gamey when we get the fights where he does switch forms so many times.
Yeah.
Because like it feels like almost like Mega Man. Like, okay, I'm gonna use Woodman's attack. Oh, it doesn't work here, and I'm gonna use Metal Man's attack. So him like getting his ass kicked and blowing through forms while they weren't working was just cool to see. Like, oh, he has so many options, and it's like purely like wildly different like ability sets and combinations and everything.
Yeah.
So all that was really cool. And then that was what led to he was cake early. And then when he was about to die, before he got thrown off the cliff, was when Sachika came home and was like, "Where's Shoma? We were supposed to eat our cake. This looks amazing." And he did like this is like dying save on. There was one more little cake next to him, and he's like, "I can't go out like this." And he like makes himself turn into Yule log one more time. Does a crazy log attack, which is like his finisher in that form. Gets his ass kicked, but like it all just works so well, even with the fast switching of like the character armor and everything else. I really just like the whole vibe of like how his actual character works now. I think
Yeah, agreed. Because I mean, like, you look back at, at Gotchard, and we had the chemis that you could switch out really quickly as well, but, like, he didn't do it as often. It was mostly using one form for one fight instead of doing the quick switching. And here, we've seen multiple times now, and especially this fight is the most of it, where he's just like he's running through all of the Gochizo that he has. It's just like popping these in, trying something different, popping these in, trying something different, and that's really cool. Like we keep seeing the Gatling gun form come back up over and over again too, which I thought was going to be like basically like one and done. We don't see it anymore, but they've been really really utilizing the various forms really really well. So hopefully they continue doing that because that makes it exciting and makes it feel like it's not just like it's the form of the week and we're never going to see it again after this.
I think that's actually what it is, where it doesn't feel form of the week. It like when he gets a new one, sure, it's kind of the form of the week where he like that's the one because obviously like everyone wants to see like oh we got Yule log, what's it gonna be? And like when he made donuts but gave it to Valen right away, it was like okay, there's a payoff. Like we know if form is coming, let's see the form kind of deal.
Yeah.
But it's way more dynamic, and he's always like two or three different forms every fight, and it's not so much like when Gotchard got like UFO form or like when he went Daybreak or whatever the thing was. It was always like 5, 6, 7 episodes in a row of just like that armor, and
Yeah.
then maybe like a tweak at the end. But it was always just like blue Gotchard, and this is way different than that at this point.
Yep. For sure. So yeah, I'm really excited to see more of the twins next week. And then, of course, we have to talk about what happened with Valen this week, too. So, Valen is kind of like off on his own for the most part in this episode. He is at one point debating on whether he should publish an article explaining kind of like what the Granoots are and let the public know. But then he realizes that words kind of already gotten around because he's sitting in a public space and he's hearing people like chatter about the Common Writer and stuff already. So, he he doesn't end up publishing his article, but he does see on social media basically there's some suspicion around about people missing, and he realizes that it's probably a Granoot that is posing as a busker. So he goes and hunts that guy down, and he gets in a fight with this Granoot. So first of all, I love that he walks up on this Granoot, and the second he does, the guy is just like, "All right, here we go," and like the mouth comes out, tongue comes out, like there's no pretense. It's just instantly tries to eat Valen, which
So
is
like
which is great.
the funny part tied to that was like when they found the busker on the social media part first, they made sure to call out like yeah, there's this weird busker that goes off the beaten path where no one goes. And then like
Yeah.
Valen, of course, is like, well, that's highly suspect. I can figure out why that's a thing. But it's funny because like the whole gimmick, if you're a busker, is you go in the most busy areas because then people go by. And granted, I understand that he's Granute. I understand why he's going in like hidden places because he can just steal whatever people do come by. But I feel like it's like the worst costume ever for what you're trying to do. Like the logic but is behind it. So like of course, like when like you said, like Valen walks up and he just tries to grab him right away. Because obviously the monster of the week doesn't know that Hanto's Valen or whatever. But like he just walks up and he just tries to grab him right away because yes, like he's sitting in a park that literally has nobody off like some weird back road. So he's like, "Oh, someone came back here. Of course I can just eat him because no one comes back here." But then it's like, well, then why would you choose Busker as your form? Because no one's gonna come back in the woods to find someone playing guitar.
Well, let me do counterpoint here. So one, being a busker means that you can linger in public and people don't really care. So like no one's gonna like think you're suspicious for staying in one spot forever hunting people because they think you're just gonna hang out and busk, right? So that's probably a benefit. And if you're kind of like off the beaten path, so that way when you eat somebody, no one else sees you eat somebody. So you could potentially like eat somebody and then keep busking and just keep doing it. So you don't have to like run away from that spot because everyone saw a monster. And you're busking, so you're like playing music. So if someone like walks up, you can make them happy potentially before you eat them by playing some good jams for them. And you get them all excited and then you eat them. So they're really tasty confections. It's
I
win-win-win.
I mean the logic of why is both there and not there. I guess is really like the main vibe of
Yeah.
this.
Well, it's funny because we saw that dude who was doing magic, who was also a Granute, kind of in the same way, where he was eating people as part of his magical routine. And he was doing it in like a very public place. he, he was just using the magic show as the excuse for like, oh, where'd she go? Who knows? Okay, show's over. Um, where a musician can't really hide it quite as well. But yeah, it is funny. Like this guy was like, "Well, I got to be out where no one's around," and the magician's like, "No, we're gonna be in the public square. Everyone's gonna be watching."
And
Uh,
like that
the
the little part of with the busker before the monster, like the monster switch too,
Yeah,
is he was sure to make the comment of like he had a bunch of people already wrapped up in their little new crystal forms, but he even made the point of like he was like, I don't get good candies this way, or he's like, I only get bad forms ever since the new group took over, or
he
the standards have gotten way higher since Lango took over procurement.
yeah, he
So
has
like,
to
so all
he
the
has to
people he's capturing, he points out like none of them are good enough to actually get any credit for.
yeah, yeah, because you got to have the happiest of the happy for their high end product.
That means he's a
The
bad guitarist then.
maybe yeah, his monster form was cool though. He's like a crab dude, which I liked a lot, like a blue crab,
his,
and
his his form was awesome, and then you can talk about the battle, but I'm going to point out the main best part of it if you don't.
yeah. So the one thing we mentioned before that I got wrong about which battle it was the bullet that Honto kicks from underwater, which busts open the box full of people that were already wrapped up as confections. That was pretty great. And then also what happens in this fight at one point is a frolic? I don't really know. How would you describe that? The
It was
music changes. They're doing like water fights with each other, and then like there's a bit of a chase, and it's all like it's played as a best friend frolic in the fountain type thing.
that's basically what it was. It was like a rom com or like with if there's music set to it. I can't. I think the song's "Happy Together," but like whenever there's like happy moments with people like doing activities outside or whatever, it's the song's like me and you and me, no matter where we touch and rise, it'll always be like whatever that song is. I think it's "Happy
Totally,
Together."
a hundred
Yeah,
percent.
like
Yeah.
you could overlap that song in that scene because it like you were saying like the crab just keeps splashing water on Valen, and Valen's like, "This is dumb." And the crab's just like giggling and splashing it, and it starts going like slow motion. And then this like they romp in the water, like you said. but it was just hilarious because it basically turned into like a rom-com moment where they're both just like splashing water on each other, and they're not really even like fighting. They're just like screwing around, and eventually Valent's like, "No, this has to stop," and like goes for the fight again. But
It reminded me of the gasoline fight from Zoolander.
yeah, there you go. Like, the same exact vibe where it's just like happy showtime splashing around.
Yeah, that's maybe the purest form because like they're obviously in Zoolander are satirizing that happens in other movies, right? But it is the most like over the top pure form of that of just like splashing everywhere and like frolicking and laughing and like happy music playing over top of it. Um that's exactly what was going on here. And then it just stops. It was the weirdest, funniest, strangest part of that whole that whole fight.
And especially like because again, like to go back to the I'll use the phrase like the romantic vibe again, even though that's not I don't think how it's presented at all anymore. And it's not the way it's supposed to work. But like when while Sachika and Shoma are having their romantic cake party, we'll call it for lack of a better term, uh Valen and a crab grenade are having their happy romantic frolic in the fountain splashing water on each other.
So
I just
true.
love like the duality of the two partnerings this week was amazing.
It's so true. In the middle of this fight, or I guess towards the end of this fight, um, Valen ends up questioning the Granute. Finds out basically that the Granute has been capturing people, kidnapping people for like 20 years. And then he ends up trying to show him the picture that he drew as a child of the Granute that took his mom. So he kind of is figuring out this has been going on for a long time, and that the person who took his mom might still be out there, and he's kind of on that trail still, which is good.
Well, yeah, the Granute when he does like the questioning, he's like, "Son, I've been doing this for like 20 plus years. Back in my time, we just stole the person. We even just put him in this dumb capture capsule right away." And that's he was like, "What?" They got all excited about the old days.
Yeah. um, and I think that's the majority of the episode. Anything else you wanted to talk about in the episode?
The last little thing, which is really, but let me see, but uh, the best little thing that happened that's not like a big deal whatsoever, but like was cool was when Shoma was doing his last stand, last breath, I'm dying thing. When the twins were walking towards him, the all of his gochizos ran out and started kicking the feet of the twins to try to protect their buddy. And I
Oh
thought
yeah,
that was adorable. And once again, that was great use of the fact that like they are their own things, like their own little people that have their own emotions and feelings and everything.
yeah. I feel like the gochizos are really the like they are what they wanted the chemis to be. Like they're, the whole thing with the chemis in Gotchard was like they're our friend and like I want to protect them and they're my friend and they're helping me and I'm not going to enslave them. And then this is more like, well, I'm going to burn them up and they're going to die every time I use them, but they really are my friend and they actually do really help me.
Well, yeah, like the only thing they're really missing is like obviously I'm gonna call it cheated, but like oh Hopper's like Pikachu, like he's always gonna be the one that's around and
Yeah.
he's got your back and he says his name, so that's adorable, isn't like ha ha ha, right guys? But like other than Hopper, all the other Pokemon were like nothing, like the
Yeah.
Chemis Pokemon, whatever. But like the Gachizos are really just a way better form of like the actual use case of what if you have these little things that are like ride or die for you, have your back the entire time, like in like um Gotchard basically just use them once and like they were all friends and fine, and there wasn't as much of an attachment as like Shoma actually kills them when he uses them. They don't care. And even in spite of that, they're like so like gung ho for this kid that
Yeah.
they will try to like fight obviously horrible monsters because their buddy is gonna die. That will in turn like pick one of them up and put them in his stomach and eat them, and they die anyway.
Yeah,
Like they're just
they're
right there for
truly ride or die for this guy
him.
who is gonna slowly kill them. It's incredible. Yeah, that's really, really funny. Um, yeah, that's Gav episode 13. Toby, let's jump over. We have an email to read as well. I want to touch on before we close out today. So if you want to send us in an email, you can do so. Send those over to cast@commonwritersucks.com. Once again, that is cast@commonwritersucks.com. Toby, our email this week comes in from our friend Shade. Shade says, "Hello, everyone. We're back for more Common Writer Gav today. Hope you guys braced yourselves for December because a Common Writer Christmas isn't always a wholesome one, if you get what I mean."
No, yeah, we're not. Listen, we're not going back to X8 days. I was thinking about when they made all our Christmas jokes today. We're coming up on the holiday season again, and a Common Rider Christmas is always the most terrifying part of the year for me at this point because X8 broke me however many years ago we watched that now.
Yep. Shane says, "Before I make any Christmas predictions, I'd like to apologize for technically spoiling the Christmas roll forms before they appear in the show. In my defense, none of the marketing ever directly implied that they were going to appear in the show itself. It's not until it appeared in the previews I do realize my mistake." Yeah, it seemed like a thing that wasn't going to be in the show. It seemed like one of those like, "Hey, we just make this for Christmas" kind of things. But I'm glad it ended up in the show because it was very good. Shade says, "Anyway, let's get on with it. For the first of our news, it's actually about the next Sentai series. The uncolored logo and the poster of the show was recently leaked. Which is this is the number one Sentai Gozyuger. Um,
Is that the dog wolf thing I keep asking about?
it is, yeah. So yeah, we have the logo, we have a leaked poster, and we're getting these things because, as Shade says, just like with Gav, they are starting their filming schedule earlier than than usual. So things are leaking earlier than usual because of that. Um, Shade says, up next, Counter Gotchard, the future Daybreak movie has finally been released online, which means we can finally check out the movie now. Uh, Joey, do you want to watch that together or watch that separately?
Is it a full movie?
I think so. I can tell you after this probably how long it is.
If it's a full movie, we're gonna watch it together. Because if
Okay.
not, I'm not gonna be able to motivate myself otherwise. I need guidance. I need friendship.
Okay, let's watch it then. We can watch it. On top of Gotchard, I found a translated clip of Spanner and Lachesis' podcast episode where they're reading an international fans' letters. So we'll have to check that out here after this. The Shade says, "It's always so funny when they obviously know that there are international fans, but refuse to ask or mention how these fans are watching the show. LOL."
That is a good point.
Yeah. On the topic of international fans, sick transition, I know, a fan had an interesting interaction with Gotchard and Gav in the Kamen Rider exhibition in China. So watching a fan here do the like dropped the Gochizo on the ground,
Oh no.
and they had to hurry and grab it for her. It was cute. Um, Shade says it's kind of amazing how these stand-in characters are able to embody their characters so much. You see them walking, and you'd never think that they're just some guy cosplaying. They are just the Common Rider. Yeah, that is very cute. And they're like pretend embarrassment as they pick up the little Gochizo. They definitely emote exactly as you would expect the two riders to do, which is cool. Then Shade has some info from the producer's blog. The street musician Granute was first seen in the episode is no ordinary guy because in another life, he was one of the 12 saviors of the universe. The actor previously played Sasori Orange of the Uchu Sentai Q Rangers. That's cool. So a former Orange Ranger was the uh was the busker today. He was asked to make a guest appearance because he was somewhat of a musician himself. Every song you heard him sing, including the song from that weird moment with Valen, was actually a song he wrote specifically for the show itself.
So like we've pointed out before, or at least like addressed, they always find the people with a specific talent that like instead of hiring an actor or like an old actor from a show that was like a skateboarder, and they're like, hey, we'll play guitarist today or play a singer today. They specifically find the person that's like, "Hey, you're a singer. Today you're a singer, and you can even go sing in the episode. Like, go
Yeah.
sing your little heart out."
It's kind of cute that they do that for sure. Shade says that they the blog points out an interesting detail about granute biology. Granutes that are modified often have a metal piece beneath their gavv, while normal granutes do not. So you can keep an eye out, I guess, for that in future episodes to know if they've been a granute that has seen some modification by the stomach family, or if they're an au natural granute.
Interesting.
Yeah. Uh, and then Shade shares a behind the scenes photo of the cake making scene, which looks like they were having a blast covering Shoma with all the flour and stuff. The quote from the blog is: "The moment the camera called cut, the two of them were chased off the set with a loud 'Get out!' because they made such a mess, I think. They had to blow the powder away with a blower." um, and then Chase says, "Finally, I'd like to talk more about something that Josh is slowly picking up on, which is the tokusatsu to boys love pipeline."
I
Yeah,
was
this
gonna
is
say how to say Japanese words, but this works too.
I'm not really slowly picking those up, but unfortunately.
Okay.
But yeah, this is not something I've been slowly picking up. I'm aware that this is a thing that happens a lot, but I'll let Shade explain it. No one knows how this phenomenon came to be, but ever since forever, many male tokusatsu actors eventually star in a BL boys love drama after their show has ended, and vice versa. It's almost like the producers for these BL saw all the heated drama between men, actual quote by Toei describing Kamen Rider build, in Kamen Rider, and decided to capitalize on that. And it's not like they're subtle about this either. There are boys love series where half of the main cast are literally just toku actors. How do we know this? Because every time we get a behind the scenes photo of them doing their hero poses, even the actors themselves acknowledge this. That's awesome. Oh, and you can bet that this pipeline is still going strong. Just last month, even Hodoro's actor announced he's going to be in a boys love. Geetsa's actor, yep, already in one. Xade, yeah, he's in one. Geo too. Now, I'm not a boys love fan, so I can't research this topic very well, but someone who is a boys love fan did do a deep dive on this topic, and I suggest checking it out if you're interested. Yeah, I actually watched a little bit of the one that the Geetsa's actor is in. Um, it was fine. It was I didn't watch too much of it, but I watched the first couple episodes, and it's set in like a he like runs a restaurant basically, like a
Ooh.
little bar, and like the love interest is someone who visits his little bar and then like comes back again, and like he makes small talk over top of like serving him food and stuff. So it's kind of cute. But yeah, that's like a big thing is these actors star in these shows and then go off and star in these BL dramas. And it has happened a bunch. So, Shade, thanks very much for the email. And yeah, that is once again cast at commonwritersucks.com for the emails if you would like to send us in an email. And again, a reminder, patreon.com/slash the comment writers gets you access to all of our bonus content. Right now we are watching Common Writer O's um and Boon Boomger, and you can watch those with us every single week. And if you join up now, you can watch all of our backlog content, which is over 100 pieces of content, over 100 things to watch, an entire watch through of Xade and all the movies, Black Sun, everything up until current. It is a slew of stuff to watch, and it's super super fun. So join up there and you get access to the Discord as well. Once again, patreon.com/slash the comment writers. All right. That's the show stuff. Toby, where can the people find you on the internet?
On YouTube, it's Tobes Plays. On Twitter, it's Life of Tobes. On Blue Sky, it's something.
It
I
is
need
something.
I need to learn my Blue Sky one. Hold on. On Blue Sky, it's also Life of Tobes. I wisely put the same thing together. I'm very proud of myself on that one.
Nice job.
Thank you. And then finally, and most importantly, on Retro Achievements, I am also Tobes Plays, where as of now, I am the top 8.4% of nerds on that website.
Woo. Growing and growing. Well done. For me, I'm primarily on Blue Sky at this point at meek.lol on Blue Sky. And of course, we have a show feed on Blue Sky too. You can follow the show at commonwritersucks.com on Blue Sky. So I think that's what bsky.app/profile/commonwritersucks.com. So fun place to keep up with all of our goings ons. All right. So that is going to wrap us up for this week for episode 13. We're glad you joined us to discuss this. And even though we might be on the pipeline for a BL drama, we're not quite there just yet because we got to finish talking about gavv. And we'll do that starting next week with episode 14. And we hope you join us back then. But until then, have a great week, everybody. Peace.